On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks get their first win of the season. Klay Thompson's debut is on full display. We got to see exactly what the Mavericks see in Klay Thompson. We'll tell you what that is and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Amazing.
Your team every day.
Still can't eat milk.
No.
Yeah, that's true.
Let it run! Welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager at the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being every day or making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. Subscribe to our free Locked On Mavs newsletter, your one stop for the best news and analysis on the Dallas Mavericks and the NBA, straight to your inbox, lockedondaily.com. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet. You'll get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And joining me, the postgame prodigy. He is a man of means. The courtside crooner. The one more. What you got for me? Slightly biased.
Thank you, Haley Van Lith, for having me out. It was a great time. Man, what an experience sitting courtside. A raccooner hit us up out of the kindness of his heart.
I don't know that raccooner is the best word to choose.
Okay, all right. I don't know. A member of the raccoon
A member of the raccoon squad hit us up. Yeah,
Okay.
and said, I got a ticket.
Yes, it said I have a ticket. So he didn't want a shout out or anything. Out of the kindness of his heart, incredible experience being that close.
My theory is that it was secretly Mark Cuban. Mark, if you're listening, let us know.
Yeah, Mark, if that is you come and say hi to me next time. Don't be so shy.
Today's episode, we're getting into the Mavs' first win of the season. They win 120-109 against the San Antonio Spurs. A good win. Did you just realize what the final score was?
No, I just realized what I said. The word choice I used. I didn't know. Honestly,
it's not your bad.
I didn't know. I didn't know what it was called. I knew it was raccoon something, and I just that didn't sound great.
We'll talk about Dereck Lively and Daniel Gafford. Apparently, Daniel Gafford getting the start tonight. Surprised a lot of Mavericks fans. So we'll talk about that. We'll also get into some of the new guys. Najee Marshall. We saw him do some stuff that I don't think some Mavs fans expected. Quentin Grimes as well got some play. And Spencer Dinwiddie didn't play until garbage time. So we'll talk about all of that. But we got to start with Klay Thompson. The debut of Klay Thompson. The first half of the Mavericks was just brutal. They could not hit threes, it felt like, and they were really struggling. And then all of a sudden, Klay broke it open, and Klay finished 6 of 10 from 3, 22 points for Klay. If the Mavs get 22 points from Klay every night, that's a pretty good get for the Mavs.
Yeah, that's an incredible get for the Mavericks if he gets 22 points a night. I mean, but you see how it fits.
Yeah.
You see it's like a glove. I mean, keep in mind, it's only going to go up from here chemistry-wise. Right? Like, they're just going to get more comfortable playing next to Klay. And he just goes to a spot. He needs literally just an inch of space, and he's pulling. Transition pull-ups, spotting up, coming off of screens, just relocating, just really quick, a couple shuffles one way or the other, and he's ready to fire for three. And already just no real game play time between him and Luka. And it felt like Luka just knew where he was at all times. And, man, this is going to be something.
There was a couple plays in a row where you just go, oh, it's like they've been playing together for a long time, where Luka had the ball, got doubled, and immediately Klay just went to the open space. Like, he just knew exactly where to flash out to, and Klay and Luka hit him for those threes. I mean, to see their chemistry already, to see how it looks on the court, we've been waiting for it. I've been waiting for it. We've been talking about it on this show so much. What will it look like with Luka and Klay on the court? And offensively, we saw it. That the Mavs drew up some stuff. They drew up some pin downs and down screens for Lively. They got Klay some open shots too. And the thing that I loved about Klay Thompson's game is that in the preseason we saw some forced shots. The game where he shot 0 for 9 was a lot of just forced shots, contested looks, shots where you go, oh, that's the Klay Thompson of last season. And in this game you saw a bunch of open shots, and I think he only really forced 2. One was a heat check, and one was just like a late in the clock kind of thing. But you really saw that the Mavs have designed a bunch of stuff for Klay, and they've really planned for it, and it just looked really good.
Yeah,
when they went in.
Yeah. But even the process looked good even on misses. Yeah. I thought in the first half, I mean, we can talk about this later, but I thought in the first half the Mavs played a good basketball game. They were just missing threes. But anyways, Yeah, if you thought after the preseason game where Klay went 0 of 9 that this was a disaster or whatever, you need to look in the mirror and come to some realizations and grow up. Like, seriously. If you're a Warriors fan who yesterday was taking victory laps, Buddy Hield this, Buddy Hield that, you need to grow up and you need to go and watch the last 12 years of Buddy Hield's career. I don't know how long he's been in the league at this point. But anyways, this is like – it was always going to work offensively. That was never the concern for me, at least. This was always going to be a seamless fit offensively. It was defense that – was the concern, and I thought he was tremendous defensively tonight. I mean, the especially with Devin the sellout, the Spurs don't really have a perimeter
attack
score,
like not a threat.
No, like none at all, really. So
Sohan was like their one threat driving, like in the lanes, and you're like, oh, that's not.
Sohan had a good game. He played pretty well, I thought. But outside of that,
whacked Gafford in the face.
Yeah, I was surprised they called that a flagrant. Maybe I didn't see the replay angle very well. But
as soon as it happened, I was like, that's a flagrant.
Okay, all right. But yeah, so I thought he was really good defensively tonight. Made some plays defensively, some steals. So just overall, an incredible debut for Klay. I mean, can't ask for really anything else.
You really can't. It worked exactly like you had hoped. And, yeah, we're going to see some games against playoff teams, some games against teams with better guards, better guard play, better, point of attack offensive creators where you go, all right, let's really test this Luka, Kyrie, and Klay thing and see if that defense really works. This was not the game to try and evaluate that or decide that. But
no.
Offensively, the process looked really good, and they've already added some wrinkles. They've already added some stuff with Klay setting screens and Klay running around screens and all that. The Lively dribble handoff work. I talked about that yesterday on the show. That Lively stayed after practice with Klay a couple times and worked on their handoffs. Like you saw some of that, and it was just so great to see Klay Thompson work in this offense. And it's honestly it's a testament to Klay because of how smart he is and how a vet, but it's also a testament to Luka.
Yeah,
anybody can just fit around him, right? You get reminded that I'm watching the Clippers the other night. You see Derrick Jones Jr. and he's doing some things here and there, but you go, man, Luka just makes anybody look really good next to him, and it's a testament to Luka how easy it was to see Klay fit in this offense tonight.
I mean, he's one of the smartest players in the history of the sport, one of the best playmakers in the history of the sport. We've known this. We've watched him play. If you've watched him play and aren't a troll and are being genuine with your basketball takes, you know how good this guy is at creating for others. It's this idea that he's not a winning player and it's hard to play around him, whatever, offensively has just always been a garbage take. We've seen him – how many players have had career years here? How many players have left here and had their careers completely sputter out / turn into nothing offensive players?
Not many.
Reggie Bullock's career ended.
Yeah, right.
Dorian Finney-Smith is just wasting away.
Have left and gone.
Have left and just
a lot.
Their 3-point percentages have dipped. This is who he is, and now giving him still an elite shooter. I mean, as he says, you can't leave him open.
That's right.
Still can't leave him open.
I don't have my soundboard with me, but
yeah,
you can't leave him. You can't leave him open, and they did. They doubled on Luka a couple times and got Klay wide open shots. You just see how the attention on, and eventually that'll shift back, and I think that'll give Luka some easier lanes to the basket.
Or Kyrie.
There's not really an easy lane to the basket when Wemby is around.
No.
I mean, just driving around him. Quentin Grimes had an attempt under this rim in the first half where he took it probably 3 seconds too early. Honestly, he in his drive to the rim and in his attempt at a layup. He really threw that up there as quick as possible. It just shows how Wemby gets in people's heads, but I thought the Mavs were able to handle that pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, they just bombed away from threes. This is what did they shoot? 44 three-pointers tonight. I mean, this is teams got to shoot a lot of threes. I've been talking about this myself, is this 40.3 number. The Celtics were the only team in the league who attempted 43s last year. I think 16 teams did it in the preseason. We've already seen 7, 8, 9 teams in the first couple of nights shoot 43s. The Mavericks joined that rank. I think they're going to put up 43s a night. I mean, they were second in the league in three-point frequency last year with 39. So they're going to get up a ton of threes this year, and that's how they're going to try to beat teams. And when they're hitting it, in the second half, it was just an onslaught.
When it starts going for this team, they're just going to look unstoppable offensively. And Klay is a huge part of that, where you just – all right, you've got to think about so many different things, because on defense in the NBA now, you've got to just know everybody on the court, what everybody can do, because at any given moment, you could guard anybody else on the court. You could switch on anybody else. And so to have to think about, all right, how many options does Luka have in front of him? Okay, how many options does Kyrie have in front of him? All right, how many options now does Lively have in front of him? PJ, what can he add? And then all of a sudden, now Klay is added to that mix. It just create such a problem for defenses in thinking about all the mess of it and these broken plays that Luka just feeds off of to create something and make something happen. You saw them just really feeding off of that. And man, when they start really bombing from three, 13 of 21 in the second half from three, they're just going to be unstoppable.
And even in the first half, their 3-point shooting was terrible, but they were getting clean looks.
Yeah.
That's why, I thought their first half of basketball, they were down, they were trailing. They just felt like they couldn't get anything going. I think I saw their biggest run in the first half was 5-0. Like, they just could not get a substantial run going. And but you could just tell watching them. Like, they got good look after good look after good look. It was just converting them. And once those things start dropping, ooh, it's going to be fun.
Oof, there it is. And they'll get more of a flow, and they'll get more. It's the first game, right? You'll see more of their offense implemented and what they want to do and all that. But coming up, let's talk about Gafford starting over Dereck Lively. It surprised some. Did not surprise me. I'll tell you why. We'll talk about all that and more coming up.
I don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavericks brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks Daily Fantasy made easy. All you have to do is go to PrizePicks.com, pick 2 to 6 players and more or less on their stat projections so that you can get a shot up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long with PrizePicks. They've got all kinds of stuff. You just go to the site and say Luka Doncic, 28.5 points. I'm going to pick more on that one. You're going to say Kyrie Irving, 24.5 points. I'm going to pick more on that one. And then let's say, the next game, Kevin Durant, 28.5 points. Let's go less on that one. You just combine stat lines like that, combine lineups like that, and you can win up to 100 times your money in as little as 4 correct picks. It's pretty awesome to be able to do that. You can do all kinds of other stuff. It's the best place to win real money on sports action because you can play this in Texas. No, there's some other things you can't play in Texas, but PrizePicks you can play in Texas. So sign up today and get $50. If you use that code LOCKEDONNBA, you get $50 after you play your first $5 lineup. So pick a lineup, 2 to 6 players, and then put $5 down. You get $50 instantly, no matter if you win or lose. So go check it out. Download the app today, prizepicks.com. Use that code LOCKEDONNBA.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on the Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. Appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. We've got a newsletter. I've been telling everybody about the newsletter because the Sacramento Kings show, Locked On Kings, was the #1 subscribed to newsletter, and we can't have that happen.
Good for them.
The Dallas Mavericks, the Locked On Mavs show has to beat it. So go to LockedOnDaily.com, and you can go see how you can subscribe to the newsletter. Isaac and I will be sending it every day, so go check it out and see how you can get the newsletter. All right, Slightly, let's talk about this decision by Jason Kidd. The starting lineup comes out, and we were all kind of waiting for it. The people that I was talking to here, some media friends and people were like, all right, what's he going to do? Is he going to start Lively? Is he going to start Gafford? Some people didn't care. Some people really cared about it. A lot of Mavs fans really cared about it. And some Mavs fans were shocked. And they're like, oh, what's Kidd doing? Why is he making this decision? He starts Gafford. And even I said on this show yesterday that I would not be surprised if Gafford got the start because Kidd has been so coy about it. He's been so coyly going back and forth saying, well, we'll see what happens with these guys, and one of them will start and one of them won't, and all that. Were you surprised? Were you shocked about Lively not getting the start tonight?
Well, when I saw that quote today, I knew for a fact Gafford would start.
Yes,
like,
right.
That was Coach Speak.
Gave
Gafford starting. Please don't kill me, guys. Lively's going to get in there at some point. I guess a little surprising. I mean, I think Lively's just a better player than Daniel Gafford is at this point in time. But, I mean, they get the same amount of minutes. Gafford was in foul trouble towards the end of the game. I don't know. They're gonna rotate these guys in, and I think part of it is we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes.
Sure.
I wonder if there is like hey, we're worried that if Gafford is just fully on the bench, that there might be like a little hesitant. There might be like some trouble getting him going. I'm just saying like that could be the case. I don't even think it is the case. But I'm saying that's a possibility. But I think it's just I don't think Lively cares. And so if that's the case, then, why not make sure Gafford's engaged and locked in and ready to go? So, I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me as long as they're playing around the same amount of minutes.
I know why he made the choice, though.
Why is that?
After seeing this game, I know why he made the choice. Because the thing about starting is we talk a lot about it because it speaks to status on a team, right? So we want Lively to be considered one of the best players on this team. And so, he's got to start, got to be an automatic starter, all that. This team, the way that it's constructed, starting really only affects the beginning of the first quarter, the beginning of the third quarter, right?
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes in there, Kidd will put in the starting unit, during a quarter. But when the starters start subbing out in the middle of the first quarter, at the end of the first quarter, you got to this lineup of it was Luka, Quentin Grimes, Najee Marshall, Maxey, and Lively, and you go, there's just no other offensive creation in there. It's just Luka and the wings. And Lively. And Lively's a much better choice in those lineups, and he played those lineups with Luka by himself and with Kyrie by himself, and he's much better in those situations than what Gafford could be because we've seen all the stuff in preseason. Lively running the dribble handoffs type stuff that we've been talking about. Lively with the pick and rolls, the post-up game, things like that. Maybe potentially spacing the floor to three at a certain point, but setting screens higher up than Gafford does because he's more of a threat in the short roll to pass out and kick out and all that. Lively is just a much better asset to those lineups than Gafford would be, and they give just as much. They give enough stuff that is the same to be able to both play in the starting lineup and both be effective, right? I don't think you're hurting the starting lineup too much by putting Gafford in there instead of Lively, but I think the second unit benefits a lot more from Lively than they would Gafford.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's why I remember a couple years ago there was the Christian Wood Dwight Powell debate, and I was always saying Dwight Powell will start because he's so much more Luka dependent. So it just felt like if you want to maximize Dwight Powell, he has to start. He has to play next to Luka.
Yeah.
So that is a good point where it's just like, Lively can do a little bit more with the ball in his hands. He can be more of an offensive hub. I mean, it's not something you really want to do with any regularity, but he's more capable of it than Gafford. So it is like, you put Gafford in the starting five, you're maximizing his strengths a little bit more playing alongside Luka and Kyrie, where Dereck Lively can still excel with just one of those guys on the court.
Yeah, and so that's why I think Jason Kidd made that choice, and I think that it helped. You could see it. You could see them run some stuff through Lively, and I thought that it was a good. I thought it was a good choice at the end of the day, and I thought that it was interesting to see a lot of Mavs fans just like respond really negatively about that. But it is more about status. A lot of our European listeners that listen because of Luka see this and are like, "Why are you guys so obsessed with starting? Like, what's the point of that?" But it does say something about status. But I think this is more of a strategic thing than it is a status thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if Gafford was getting 36 minutes a night and Lively was playing, 14, then that's a conversation we can have that's concerning. But, if it's Lively and Gafford playing similar minutes, then really who cares?
Yeah, right. With Gafford and Lively, though, I mean, we saw Gafford. I mean, he was physical. He was trying to, he's trying to end Wemby at times. Yeah. And let's just talk about how Gafford and Lively and others defended Wemby. The Mavs had a defensive plan for him. P.J. Washington started on him, on Wembanyama, and then Gafford defended him for a little bit. Lively defended him for a little bit. Maxey, when he came in, defended him for a little bit. And good. I thought that was a good defensive scheme from Kidd to just keep throwing different bodies at Wemby.
Yeah, I thought the Mavs defense as a whole was really, really good tonight. And I think some of it is this Spurs offense is going to be bad again. Chris Paul just looked old as dirt. Like he was pretty much next to zero impact on the floor. And Wemby just didn't have a good game either. Just a lot of settling for bad shots. And a lot of that is a credit to the Mavericks defense because they played very physically with him. And even when he had the freakish Wemby, like, how did he get that finish off? It was he had to get through one guy in the perimeter and then go through a rim protector as well. So just making life very difficult on him. And, it was just a great physical defense by this Mavericks to carry over from what we saw a year ago.
Yeah, and we saw some crazy from Lively specifically. What did he finish the game with? He finished 15 points, 11 boards, 6 assists for Lively, and he was all over the place.
He was awesome.
He's just exactly what you want to see a guy from year 1 to year 2 take another step forward. And there was a couple plays that he defended Wemby one-on-one, and he got a stop on him on one of them. And just to see the growth, to see him defend out in space, to see him do all the things we've been talking about all offseason, it was awesome to see from Lively. And he threw down a lob from a Najee Marshall lob in transition where I thought he broke his hand because of how hard he threw that down.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing I'll say about Lively, the great thing is I can remember 2 bad plays. The little post hook he tried where Wemby just, annihilated it. That was a disgusting block. But, that's – I don't even know if I would consider that a bad play, just, whatever. And then the travel. He had a travel early in the game where he tried a little hop step and then turned the ball over. But that's really all I can remember. And so for him, it's like I don't know if he's ever going to make plays that he's going to make defensive plays that wow you. He's going to finish lobs that wow you. But he's not going to break guys down off the dribble or do any of these offensive creation things that wow you. But he's just going to make every play correctly. He's just going to make the right play every single time. And that's really what it felt like tonight.
It's his superpower that he makes great decisions, right? It's the difference between him and we'll talk about Jaden Hardy a little later, but what Jaden Hardy struggles with is that Lively, when he is given the ball and given a choice, he slows down, realizes what's around him, assesses the situation, and just does exactly the right thing that you're supposed to do in that spot and stays under control when he defends and didn't get into foul trouble at all in this game. I mean, just played such a good game, I thought. He's such an asset to this team. I cannot believe how good he is, in his second year already.
I was just thinking of this right now. Wemby we saw tonight, obviously. Yeah. And he is a defensive style. When Wemby's in front of you, it's this play is probably going nowhere. We need to pass it out and move the ball around. Lively has the same feel sometimes. Like, honest to God, tonight Lively had the same feel where it's like, if Lively picked the guy up or if Lively's there to protect the rim, this play is over.
They tried him.
Yeah, they did, and it rarely worked, and it just felt like if Lively's in the right position, which he usually is, this play is not going to work for you. You're going to have to take a very difficult shot and make a difficult shot. He's a tremendous defender, man.
It's been awesome to see Dereck Lively and the growth from him and to see what he adds to this team. And also, Gafford did get in foul trouble, so maybe this doesn't really reflect what's going to happen. But Lively ended up playing almost 28 minutes, and Gafford played 18 minutes. So if you're talking about starting and if you're really worried about that, it's more about who plays more, right?
Yeah.
It's about who's on the floor more. And I think it really is just about that starting unit, and they played both of their roles exactly the way that you would hope. And it worked out. The Mavs have 2 centers.
Yep.
Like, we went through and we ranked them and we did all this stuff in the offseason, but to see them and to see it put into work and to see it work was awesome to see both of those 2 guys.
Yep, and Gafford, I thought Gafford played pretty well as well. So just those 2 guys, I don't know what their stats are, but combined, I'm sure they had a great stat line that you look at and you're like, man, that's
Just
good.
make one up. Just make a stat line
Well,
up.
let me guess. Lively had 15?
No, just make it up.
Okay, 23 and 19. Am I close?
That's pretty close. I think it's 17.
17 rebounds?
17, and I think it was 24. I think we were really close.
Wow,
It was really close to the makeup. Just
Hey,
going off vibes.
I'm a natural, man.
Just
I'm a natural at this.
Just going off vibes. It was awesome. You're natural. You're sitting courtside.
I was sitting
That's-
courtside.
you could-
screaming.
That was amazing.
I was like, hey, get up! On defense.
Do you think the Mavericks played better because you were sitting courtside?
It's possible, Keeban. If you're listening to this, consider it.
Keep
Try me out until I lose.
Keep
That's all I'd say.
Keep bringing slightly bias back. Keep bringing slightly back.
Haley, if you're listening.
Yeah, Haley Van Lith. Keep bringing slightly back. Oh, my God. All right, coming up, let's get into the decision of Jason Kidd to not play Spencer Dinwiddie basically at all in this game until garbage time. We'll talk about some of the other guys, Najee Marshall, Quentin Grimes, what did they bring to this game, and more. We'll talk about all that and more coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds, things that you can use to get in on the action and check out what they have available for you right now. If you put down, you can go get $200 in bonus bets and go see how you can do that. FanDuel.com. They have all kinds of odds for the NBA. As the NBA gets started, you want to get a big return from them. Go check out all the games. They've got let's see, some games that are coming up that are not today. Suns-Lakers. I know that's a big one for Mavs fans. I'm sure every Mavs fan will be watching that game. Lakers, -1.5. Is that – hold on. The Lakers are favored in that game. I'm actually very surprised by that, FanDuel. Go check it out and see what is available for you. It changes all the time on FanDuel. FanDuel.com. Again, check it out, FanDuel.com.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. Again, subscribe to the newsletter so that we can beat Locked On Kings.
Come on, guys.
Matt, I want to pass you in subscribers.
The Kings? Really?
LockedOnDaily.com. Go and check that
That's
out.
botted.
All right, slightly. Let's talk about Jason Kidd's decision and his rotation. We've been talking a lot about the rotation a lot.
Yeah.
And you've been a person from the very beginning of the signing, that thought Spencer Dinwiddie may get some D&P CDs at some point.
Yeah.
And I made fun of you.
Well, you want me to explain why I said that?
Go.
Because I watched him play basketball last year and a half. That's why.
Yeah, but then he also talked about how the Lakers weren't using him correctly, so you thought maybe coming back he would get some of that mojo back.
Uh-huh.
But Spencer Dinwiddie didn't play in this game until basically garbage time. Jaden Hardy got basically all those
And he was good.
backup guard minutes, and Quentin Grimes was the first guard wing off the bench.
He was the first guy off the bench in general.
Yes, which I thought was a little surprising, but not if you've listened to the show, because I've told you Jason Kidd seems to really like Quentin Grimes. But the decision about Dinwiddie and Hardy,
Yeah.
Kidd made the right one?
Well, obviously tonight, yeah, Hardy played really well. And I do wonder if Hardy comes out and starts 0-2 from 3 and turns the ball over twice, does Dinwiddie come on the floor? Like, is this going to be one of those things?
Just who's got it? Who's got it?
Who's
tonight?
got it? Who doesn't? I could see that, but they just
Isn't
paid
that called Twitter coaching?
Twitter coaching. Yeah, it is called Twitter coaching.
Isn't that what everybody wanted to do with Tim Hardaway Jr.? Is like, all right, go out there, take
Yes.
4 shots. If you miss all 4 of them, you're not playing another minute.
It's
If you
just
make 2 of them, all right, you can keep playing.
Really, unfortunately, not how sports works. Even though you knew it, watching the game was like Tim missed his first one. Well, here we go, guys. Honestly, I was telling you before. I don't know if I said it on the podcast, but I was telling Nick, I was like, we're gonna know a lot about after Klay's first shot. We're gonna know a lot, and it ribbed in. It hit a little midi, and it bounced in. I was like, here we go, here we go.
He's got the shooter's
Yep,
bounce tonight,
he's got
baby.
it tonight. But no, I do think it's. I mean, Hardy played well in the preseason too. So
Yeah, he did.
And did what has been terrible in the preseason. Was terrible in the preseason. So
Did Hardy play well, or did he just hit 3 threes?
well, that's playing well for him. That's his role.
That's
when
true.
Luka and Kyrie are here. That's what his role is going to be: hit threes and then occasionally do something off the dribble.
Yeah, he made a couple mistakes in with his dribble and just like some.
I have a courtside insight.
Let's go.
I have a courtside insight. So Hardy.
Do you want the mic with the flag so it looks like you're actually reporting?
Yeah, sure. All right, folks, listen in to what I saw tonight at the game. Thank you, Reggie and Kevin. Here's what I saw. Jaden Hardy up the floor. The Spurs were in the bonus. Hardy just had a brain-dead reach and foul at half court that led to the Spurs shooting free throws. And the bench, I thought they were about to have an aneurysm. Sweeney was going crazy. Sweeney's got
At Hardy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. They were mad at him. Sweeney's got head coach juice. I got to say it. He has it.
Oh.
He's got that psycho look about him on the sideline. That is a head coaching. And he's gotten interviews. And I'm pretty sure I saw him today.
He's outside the arena. Yeah, that's the most important part. That's what he said. Okay. Thanks for the courtside report from Slightly Biased.
Thank you.
With the microphone. Yeah, Jaden Hardy, he's going to make some mistakes. His decision making is the thing he's got to get better at. And so that's the thing moving forward with him. But we did see him hit some threes. We did see him, make some good plays and play really confident, right?
Yeah, he played well.
That's
he
the
really
thing
did.
about him. And so I think Kid made the right choice with Exum out. That's something that is going to going to go back and forth. We'll see Hardy some nights. We'll see Dinwiddie some nights.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know. Night one is always interesting because it's like that's when you see the rotations and it's like let's see. That's the most interesting part of opening night to me for any team is like who's going to be playing, who's not going to be playing.
It's not what the halftime show is, which I don't even know how to describe that.
It was interesting. They were just lit up.
It was just guys in suits with light up suits with like piping on it.
The halftime show economy is still just one of the more baffling things in the world to me.
Are you with Isaac that you hate halftime shows and wish they would just stop?
No, I don't hate halftime shows because you do have to. I guess you have to do something. I mean, maybe I don't really understand it.
I don't know. Every high school basketball game I've ever been to, they don't do anything. They just
I guess that's true. But you don't.
Life goes
you don't
on.
pay to go in there though.
Sometimes.
Okay, true.
Life goes on if there's nothing that
I
happens.
remember if you have to pay to get into high school games.
Not my high
I
school.
haven't been
My
since
high
I've
school, I
been a
think I
student.
did.
I don't go to high school sporting events.
I think if you gave your student ID, you get in free.
I had people ask me, they'd be like, "Hey, you been to a?" I'm not gonna dox myself and say what high school I went to. Like, "Hey, you been to a game recently?" And I'd be like, "Why would I go to one? Maybe in 18 years when I have a child on the field." But
not gonna dox myself.
that sport still exists.
Let's talk about some of the other new guys. Najee Marshall came off the bench, 21 minutes, 1 of 6 from the field, but I thought in transition he had that great lob to Lively that we talked about where we thought Lively broke his hand because of how hard he threw it down. And his defense, I thought, just stood out. I mean, he just flies around.
He's going to be a great basketball player for this team. I mean, we'll have so many nights like this where we'll be like, Najee, 1 of 4, or Najee 3 points. But it's like, man, he really impacted the game, though, in a positive way. Like, that's who he is as a player. He plays winning basketball, so that's why you go out and get him.
That's why you get somebody like Najee Marshall. Yeah. The knife. And he comes in, and I thought, he made a great impact defensively. And there's going to be nights where he plays a bunch of minutes, and I think there's going to be nights like this where he plays 20, and like that's his role. Yeah,
and that's Quentin Grimes as well. I saw, some people were upset. I had people messaging me directly about Quentin Grimes, and I don't know what role specifically you guys think Quentin Grimes is going to play. I thought Quentin Grimes played a fine game. I mean, I don't.
What about Quentin Grimes, the first player off the bench? Not the first wing guard, like the first player.
Now that is actually interesting, but it subbed in for Kyrie. So guard for guard.
Sure.
And maybe it was just at that point in the game, the Mavs just wanted a little bit more defense out there. I mean, I don't really remember what the score was. The Spurs got off to a semi-hot start, especially from 3. So I don't know if they thought, hey, we might need a little bit more perimeter defense or whatever the case may be. But we'll keep an eye on that. I mean, if that's a thing, the next game against the Suns is going to be really interesting for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, a potential playoff team.
More, I mean, just any perimeter-oriented good perimeter-oriented players, I think will tell us a lot more about this team because the Spurs just don't have them.
To see Booker and KD and Bradley Beal attack this perimeter defense is going to tell us a lot more about this team. But Quentin Grimes only ended up playing 15 minutes too. He's first guard off the bench, but still. Didn't see a ton from him, but solid defense, and he came in. Man, he chucked a shot the first one.
He had a bad miss. What did he go? 1 of 6.
1 of 6. Yeah.
Okay. I can see why you guys are maybe a little upset.
Any other courtside reports? What was it like?
Well, it was an incredible
Do you
experience.
recommend?
I would absolutely recommend. You really look at him. I was talking to Nick before the game. We were down there. I was like, Devin Vassell looks like he's like 6'9". And it's like, no, it's just
You're
tall.
just standing by him.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe I'm just way shorter.
Wemby warming up.
Wemby is a freak, man. You realize how insane these players are, these NBA players are, because what did Wemby shoot from 3 in this game? Horribly?
Bad.
He goes out there, probably takes 30.
1 of 8.
Probably takes 30 practice threes just in the brief time I watched, and maybe missed 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Like, just going around the court, it's just these guys are nuts, and he is so massive. I mean, if he like, refines his offensive game, and starts taking better shots, and the surrounding pieces around him become better, and their offense is a little bit more fluid, he's going to be a nightmare.
Absolutely. It's wild to watch him. It's wild to watch him warm up. It's wild to watch him do some of the moves. And in this game, to see him like gear up for a shot, like go into his almost like the NBA 2K animation.
Yeah.
It seems like it takes him a little while to get there. And I
Yeah.
think that's going to speed up for him. And when that speeds up, when he gets to like the Dirk level of fast, quick get into your shot,
Yeah.
he's going to be really, really hard to guard. But I'm glad that he's still
He
looks
still
like a deer
raw.
a little bit still.
He's still a little raw. I was kind of hoping that he'd be, well, just from a basketball fan perspective, that he'd be a little bit more refined this year and would take this MVP
one
level.
game.
Yeah, it is
It's
one
one game.
game, but I feel like the process wasn't where I'd want it to be.
Sure.
At least starting in game 1. But also, again, I don't know. I'd have to rewatch the game. I don't know if this was just had an incredible experience. Yeah, vibes were so
courtside
high.
vibes.
The Mavs' defensive intensity is insane. I mean, it is. They fly around the court. They pick up, and their communication is great. And on top of that, their synergy is so good that a lot of times they don't even talk, and they just know instinctively, I have to pick up this guy. You stay out. You go high, like whatever the case may be. So I think this is going to be this is going to be a great defensive team this year, I think. We'll learn a lot on Saturday.
I was going to say, let's see it against some better offenses.
Yeah.
But the Mavs defense, when it is working well, the way it's designed, you talk about head coach Juice, Sean Sweeney. We're going to call him head coach Juice.
Okay.
I think that's what we're going to call him now.
Nice.
We talk about that defense. It's about everybody just knowing where they're supposed to be. Everybody just run into a spot. Everybody like instinctively knowing, all right, you go over here, you go over here. And there's a couple of times when that didn't happen, and that will get ironed out. The Spurs, on the other hand, there was a bunch of times when they didn't know where each other was supposed to go. And that's just what a young team looks like.
I have another courtside report.
Oh, dude, you want to go full?
Yeah, I'll go full. Luka Doncic. We didn't even talk about Luka really, besides saying how
Not
great
much,
of a playmaker
just
he
the
was.
way he
I
set
thought
up.
he had a phenomenal game. His defense was serious. I mean, he was really ramping up the intensity on defense. I thought it was gonna be funny. I thought it was gonna be like maybe I could hear him yell at the refs and stuff. I don't he barely spoke to the refs,
Wow.
and it was very friendly. I was watching it during the timeouts. He'd go up to him. This is all I've ever wanted. Luka, you can cry to the refs all you want. I do not care as long as it's not
be
during
nice
the play.
to them.
No, just as long as don't be mean to him. I don't care, but as long as it's in between plays. And he would go up and he was smiling and they were joking and they were laughing. I mean, the vibes were high on the bench for this team. I'd always look and see it. And even when they were down in the first half or whatever the case may be, they're joking around, they're laughing, they're having a good time. It just felt like they knew they were in control of the game because they were in the first half. They were the better basketball team from opening tip-off.
They were. You could just tell it was just the threes in the first half.
Yeah, they just weren't hitting threes.
Thanks for the courtside report from Slightly Biased,
You're
our courtside reporter.
That's how lame those courtside reports are too, by the way. They're having a great time on the bench. It's like, wow, thank you.
Luka was soft-spoken to the refs.
Yeah, well, that's actually a big report. Then Reggie would probably be like, I don't know. I don't think so. I saw him screaming.
There you go. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of this show. And you can get our newsletter, lockedondaily.com. You can find that. We send it every single day. You can get the best Mavs news and information like that. You can subscribe to the show on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. Like the show, comment, all that stuff. Appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. We'll be back. Isaac should be back with one more thing later today if you're listening, watching this. So go check that out. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out. Boom.
One more thing, King.